If you missed the Bitcoin pump, or you're simply feeling underexposed, then this is the video for you, because I'm going to be going through 5 altcoins that you can look at accumulating that could be next to run. These are 5 altcoins that I think are exhibiting some of the most strength in the market, both from a technical and a fundamental perspective. Because in these markets, we always want to be prioritizing the strong coins with the strong narratives and the strong technicals, because the laggards in recent times have simply been left behind. Oh, and at the end of the video, I'm also going to reveal a bonus ecosystem that I am currently looking at accumulating within, as I believe it's significantly undervalued based on the metrics we have gotten over the last week. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to click that subscribe button down below and hit that post notification bell. I upload every single week. And without further ado, let's get straight into the list. Before I go through each specific altcoin, what I want to do is just frame where we currently sit in terms of the market and look at how alts could respond in this environment. As you can see in front of you, since October, Bitcoin dominance has been going on a tear, and essentially Bitcoin has been leading this rally in the midst of spot Bitcoin ETF approval hype and a flight to quality narrative that has started to present itself as gold and Bitcoin have been running amidst an equities correction. People weren't calling it Uptober for no reason. Historically, October has been one of Bitcoin's best performing months, but surprisingly, November historically is even better for Bitcoin. So, although the price momentum is slightly slowing down after a huge pump, the party may not be over just yet, heading into what is Bitcoin's best performing month historically. I think one of the most telling signs of where we currently sit as a market is the response that we've seen on the Bitcoin CME futures open interest, which you can see massively spiking over the past few days, and also the Bitcoin CME futures volume. Pretty much the CME data is the closest thing we have as a smart money indicator in crypto, because typically the big players position themselves in the CME futures markets. And this is just one indicator that this is an institutionalized rally. A lot of bigger players are now starting to buy into this Bitcoin spot ETF hype. But interestingly, despite the Bitcoin spot ETF being a 2023 specific catalyst, Bitcoin price action is still closely mirroring the past 2 cycles. So we've also seen explosive Bitcoin price momentum around this stage of the cycle in previous cycles, which usually comes 600 to 800 days post Bitcoin's all-time high. We can see this rally has happened 700 days post the all-time high in November 2021. So it's very clear that Bitcoin is leading the way this cycle, but what does that mean for altcoins? Well, the first thing I want to say is that Bitcoin leading is actually an extremely healthy thing for altcoin holders. So anyone that's sitting on the sidelines here and maybe doesn't have adequate Bitcoin exposure, you don't need to despair, because it's actually a super healthy thing for the market that Bitcoin is well capitalized, liquidity is flowing into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance is going up. What you don't want to see in the early stages of a cycle is a crazy altcoin rally, because that essentially shows that the hype cycle is playing out on a very small time frame. Because what we want to see is a sustained bull rally over a significant period of time, like we got in, let's say, 2021, because that's where you get those really massive gains, right? So we actually want Bitcoin to keep leading. I don't even mind if Bitcoin dominance goes up to 60%, because that means that Bitcoin is well capitalized, and we know how liquidity does trickle down into the altcoins. It's a case of the rising tide lifts all ships. I believe this to be the same with Bitcoin and the crypto market. So if you're on the sidelines, don't worry. It's actually a pretty healthy thing. But of course, today I'm going to talk about some of the altcoin plays that I think could lead the rest of the market. So in terms of what could happen to altcoins next, one chart that I want to show you that's right in front of you is the discrepancy between the Bitcoin price action and the Ethereum price action. We know that Ethereum typically leads the altcoins, and you can see here that versus its local range high, Ethereum still has a ways to go to 2140, which is its range high, versus Bitcoin, which broke above its range high at $31,700 and is now pushed up into the 34K territory. So ETH has been lagging Bitcoin. The question is, will it catch up? The chart that I'm looking at most in order to answer this question is ETH BTC. We can see we broke below range lows on the weekly, but it's possible that this could be a deviation below, like we saw back in June 2022, where ETH BTC deviated below range low low, then came back in to solidify, and it used this as a springboard to rally up to range highs. I want to monitor if a similar thing happens. If we can reclaim that support band on the weekly, that would be a good springboard for ETH BTC to start making a higher low and then make its push towards the mid-range here. So definitely keep your eye on what happens with ETH BTC over the next couple of weeks. Now, obviously Ethereum leading most of the altcoins, if that starts to gain momentum and have a reversal versus Bitcoin, and we see dominance start to have a slight correction, then you want to look at some of the strongest altcoins in the market, the 5 of which I'm going to talk to you about in today's video. This may not happen overnight, this may take a few weeks to play out, and I do believe you have time to accumulate here. I don't think this is something that you need to ape into altcoins right now because you're going to miss the move, but it's definitely wise to start looking and start preparing to capitalize yourself in the right altcoins to make sure that your portfolio is prepared when we get a rally and you're not sitting on the sidelines. And that's what today's video is all about. I do think a strong Bitcoin is amazing for the altcoin market overall, because even if you don't get direct liquidity flow into alts, what it does is it shifts sentiment from bearish into positive territory. And that's not only good for retail sentiment towards crypto, but also project sentiment towards crypto. I mean, think of all the major announcements that these major projects were withholding because market conditions weren't suitable. Same for airdrops. Think about all the airdrops that were delayed because projects were waiting for better market conditions. Well, now with the market starting to heat up and Bitcoin starting to perform better, with sentiment coming back, I do believe that projects will be in a much better position to actually make these major announcements. And what this does is it creates a positive effect for many altcoins and creates new trading opportunities. As you can see, good news, so positive catalysts come out for various altcoins across the market. We've already seen this over the past few days. One coin that I'm going to reveal to you in my list here is one of them that's experiencing a big announcement at the moment, and I think we're going to see this effect across many other altcoins over the coming weeks. So my tip, my little alpha tidbit to you, is definitely keep your eye on the projects that are teasing and announcing news. Pair that up with the technicals, because I think you're going to get some good trading opportunities there. And if you want to go a step further, you can actually start digging for project announcements and news. Rarely are announcements done in isolation. Usually there are plans that have been clearly outlined some time ago that are now starting to come to fruition, meaning you can go into their Discords, you can go into their Telegrams, and you can listen to old AMAs, and you can see what was in the pipeline, and you can start yourself piecing together narratives for specific altcoins. So pick the niche that you're passionate about and research it, because there could be some major announcements coming your way. And in today's video, I'm going to reveal a couple of them. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Hopefully that frames where the market currently sits and my opinion on the market. So let's get into the 5 coins. Coin number 5, in no particular order, is Dogecoin. Now, Dogecoin's an interesting one. Obviously, it is a meme coin, but it is synonymous with the general retail pulse in crypto, which means basically when retail gets interested in crypto again, meme coins are often the ones to run, and Dogecoin being the most popular meme coin, having the Elon effect, typically this is the one that experiences some sort of liquidity flow. The chart's also super interesting because you can see Doge strongly rallying off its support at the 6 cent region and now starting to break into this diagonal trend. If it does break above, then you do have a price target of 10 cents. So in the short term, this can be an interesting trade, but also in the longer term, Doge is a really interesting one because obviously it's down significantly from its all-time highs, but it's a narrative that I think has staying power with memes being so popular in crypto. And even if you don't respect memes from a fundamental perspective, I think you've got to respect how they do behave in certain market environments. So Doge is one that I'm actually interested in accumulating, especially on major pullbacks, because I think it's one that when the time is right can really rip. And this may be sooner, this may be later. So for me, I'm taking a DCA approach when it comes to Doge. And in the short term, I have seen this narrative starting to gain a little bit of steam. As you can see in front of you, some of the biggest traders on crypto Twitter have started to open Doge positions. I wouldn't buy into their hype and potentially become their exit liquidity. But what it does show is that some momentum is coming back as retail becomes interested in crypto again. So Doge is definitely one on the list that I'm looking out for. November 2nd is interesting as well because it's Kabosu's birthday, which is Doge Day. Elon posted a pic of Doge on Halloween last year, and the Twitter takeover last year took place on October 27th. So maybe an interesting period for Doge. Probably explains why it's pumping. If you're interested in trading, there could be an opportunity here. But from a long-term perspective, if there is any major buy the rumor, sell the news event, then you can use that as an opportunity to accumulate in your position. All right, let's get into the next 4 altcoins in this video. And remember, at the end, I'm going to be sharing a bonus ecosystem for you that I'm currently accumulating based on super interesting metrics that we've gotten over the last week. Before we get into that, I want to give a quick word to the official sponsor of this show, De.Fi. De.Fi is a one-stop shop for all your crypto needs. They're building a massive ecosystem, including a token scanner, a social profile, yield exploration, a dashboard, a shield, and an upcoming L2 chain, De.Fi GPT, and De.Fi Connect social platform. As you can see in front of you, here's what the dashboard looks like. I signed up and made an account, and you can see a bunch of stuff that they have on offer. Of course, you've got your on-chain portfolio section, which is similar to an application like DBank. You also have your transaction section, and you'll be able to follow other traders and track their trades like you would do on DBank, but all underneath one hub that includes a bunch of other features as well. You can see on the left, there's a scanner and a shield. So when you're researching a token investment, you can work out whether it's safe or not to make sure that you're not investing into any sort of honeypot scheme or scammy contract. So that's really cool that there's a security element as well. And you can also send and swap crypto directly in the app, as well as find staking yields on its investment platform. They've got a lot more coming out in the future with their L2 chain launching, their GPT launching, and De.Fi Connect also launching. So you pretty much never need another De.Fi website again. And I love how the name is De.Fi because it literally is DeFi, with the domain being D.Fi when you enter it in. They're also backed by some of the biggest investors in the world: OKX, Huobi Ventures, Shima Capital, Bitmart, and they're also utilized and backed by the director of Binance, Coinbase, ZK Sync, and others. They've got a huge team of over 50 people that have been building products in the crypto space for over 4 years and have launched multiple products in the past, like crypto's first antivirus, crypto's largest social profile, largest portfolio tracking dashboard, and more. And now they're just leading DeFi, which is the ultimate DeFi ecosystem. By the way, just check out their roadmap. Look at how much stuff they're building. It's kind of crazy. When I first checked them out, I couldn't believe just the amount of sheer development power they've got behind them and the amount of new features they're launching on the dashboard. So I'm super excited to see this fully develop as an ecosystem over the next few months and coming years, because certainly sky's the limit for an application like this. DeFi 2.0 is finally here, and they also have a token, which is the DeFi token that you can now purchase. You've got 6 days to do so until the price goes up, and you can see that they've raised over 1.9 million, which is almost exhausting their threshold of $2.5 million. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description where you can buy the DeFi token with crypto. Now, of course, you have to work out whether you're bullish on the token yourself. I'm not saying that you have to buy the token, of course. You have to do your own research in crypto and work out whether it's something that you're bullish on and you want to invest in yourself. But on the product side, I'm certainly excited for a few of their upcoming developments, like their L2, like DeFi Connect, like DeFi GPT, etc. There's a link in the description to their website that you can click on to find out more about it, and you can choose whether you want to purchase the token using crypto, or if you would rather purchase the token via card, you can do that as well. So link in the description to check out DeFi, and without further ado, let's get on to the 4 altcoins left in today's video and the bonus ecosystem at the end. The second one is Stacks, and this is a super interesting one because out of all the altcoins in the market, this is one of the only bona fide Bitcoin proxy bets. So there are a few other ones like BSV and Bitcoin Cash, but Stacks joins this unique category of coins that are related to Bitcoin. And this is interesting because when Bitcoin rips, Stacks is actually one of the only alts that's correlated with Bitcoin. So earlier in the video, we spoke about the fact that ETH BTC has largely been bleeding and Bitcoin dominance has been rising, but Stacks BTC, you can see, has actually been going up. But although it did have a reversal when Bitcoin had its massive pump, over the last 2 months on the 4-hourly time frame, we've seen it's been able to gain ground versus Bitcoin. So that's an interesting observation to make, as many other altcoins are bleeding versus their Bitcoin pair. And I did say before how important it is to monitor relative strength in this market. You can also see versus its US dollar pair, Stacks has rallied off its local lows and has pushed up into temporary resistance. If it breaks and holds above this resistance, then its next target for me is actually around $1. So Stacks in the short term is a super interesting one, but also in the long term, if you believe that Bitcoin's going to continue to rally, then I believe it's going to be one of those coins that actually can rally alongside Bitcoin. And I made a video earlier in the year about Stacks being one of my favorite plays, and that's for good reason, because there's certainly a lot happening fundamentally for Stacks. They have their SBTC launch, they have their Nakamoto release, which will empower 5-second transactions. Of course, those Bitcoin Bitcoin specific catalysts like we've spoken about, the halving, the ETF, and a bunch of other stuff as well. They announced their ecosystem fund, and there's just a lot happening in the Stacks ecosystem, especially the Nakamoto upgrade. Getting a faster network, I think, will be super important because Stacks is essentially a Bitcoin layer 2, right? So it needs to be able to facilitate DeFi in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So that's a very interesting play, especially with the Bitcoin narrative being so strong. All right, my third altcoin of today's video is Rollbit. This is actually one of my biggest altcoin positions. I've spoken about this for months over on Crypto Banter. I've spoken about this for, I think, months on this channel as well and on my Twitter. But you guys know I'm a fan of Rollbit. I've been using major dips as an opportunity to accumulate, and that's because I just really believe in the narrative behind what Rollbit's doing. I mean, when you think about it, humans are innately gamblers. Humans love to speculate, and Rollbit across 3 verticals offers you the ability to speculate. They've got their sportsbook, they've got their casino, and they also have their crypto futures product, enabling you to trade perps. So it attacks you on all 3 verticals, and as a result, has experienced some of the strongest revenue growth in the crypto market over the past few months. I mean, look at this. Over the past 24 hours alone, they've done $1.2 million in casino revenue, $360K in perp revenue, and $166K in sportsbook revenue. It's absolutely insane, and you would think a product like Rollbit would be driven by futures volume, right? But that couldn't be any further from the truth. Their casino revenue is actually the strongest part of their ecosystem, and casino revenue has less of a cyclical market nature to it. If gamblers like the platform, they tend to stay on the platform. These platforms maintain a form of stickiness, and they aren't reliant on favorable market conditions to actually print cash in terms of revenue from their casino. So the fact we've seen strong growth across all these 3 verticals means that they've been burning a ton of Rollbit, and that announcement that they made a few months ago about the increased Rollbit burn has just been amazing for the ecosystem, because we've seen over 37.7% of the circulating supply of Rollbit actually be burnt, as you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen here. So been pretty crazy what's happened with Rollbit, and just from a pure cash generation perspective, being one of crypto's most profitable dApps, it just makes sense in a market that isn't particularly too favorable for altcoins to accumulate a coin like Rollbit that's actually generating revenue, unlike a lot of its contemporaries. So there's an amazing thread that I won't bore you with today, but if you do have time, search ASXN on Twitter and look up this thread, because it goes through all the mathematics behind Rollbit's valuation in terms of the amount burnt in an annualized fashion. Spoiler alert, Rollbit is still, even at 19 cents, undervalued according to fair value estimates. So that's definitely something that I would check out in order to do some extra due diligence and research, because you guys know how important it is to do your own research before you invest in a cryptocurrency. That's one of the resources that I would check out. All right, let's get into coin number 4. This is Solana. In terms of relative strength, Solana has been one of the strongest coins over the past couple weeks, and I think it's unwise to fight the trend when it comes to a coin that's clearly showing you the market wants to bid. It's funny, the 2 biggest supply overhang FUD events for Solana, which was the Robinhood forced selling and the FTX liquidations, ended up marking local bottoms for Sol, and I actually used these 2 opportunities to accumulate more Sol, as I explained to you guys on my Twitter, pointing out that I took a nibble at Sol back down here at $13 to $14, and I also thought that the Sol FTX liquidations were being overhyped back at $17, and since then I've almost doubled my investment twice because Solana's just been such a strong performer in the face of adversity, and that pretty much exemplifies that when the market's fearful, those are the greatest opportunities in the market if you are bullish on a coin. Long term, I do like Solana as a play, but in the shorter to medium term, I think it's important to note that Solana dominance is performing really well, actually outperforming ETH dominance and outperforming Total 3, which is the market cap excluding Bitcoin and ETH, and you can see that Sol dominance has also made 2 higher lows and is in an uptrend, which is pretty rare with most coins, as I mentioned before, in a downtrend. So you'll notice a trend in today's video. I'm looking at coins that are exhibiting strength. I think Rollbit, from a fundamental perspective, is exhibiting a lot of strength, but Stacks and Solana versus Bitcoin are also exhibiting some strength, and that's one of the reasons why it's in this video. Now, it's quite interesting because over the last 2 Solana Breakpoint conferences, and of course we are heading into Breakpoint in the next couple of days, as you can see via this red vertical line, Solana has aggressively pumped, moving this time 45%, last time 60%, and obviously in 2021 having a huge run pre-Breakpoint because that was in the middle of the bull run, but actually on both occasions dipped after the conference and ended up giving back a lot of its gains. So it'll be interesting to see whether this is another buy the rumor, sell the news event for Solana. If it is, I think this could be an accumulation opportunity. So I'm not aping into it now because A, my motto is to buy on extreme red days. I don't like buying into crazy hype prices. But B, I think there could be a sell-off into this vertical red line, which is the Breakpoint conference. And if there is, like in previous conferences, then this could be an opportunity to scoop up some Solana at slightly less hype levels. So that's something I'm keeping my eye on. Let's get into altcoin number 5. This is Arbitrum. Arbitrum is a coin that for me is starting to tick a lot of the boxes in terms of A, exhibiting strength against the rest of the market, and B, having super strong specific altcoin catalysts behind it. I'll explain some of these catalysts right now. Firstly, you've got EIP 4844, which is estimated to take place in either January or February next year. It did get delayed from an initial expectation of it deploying in December. And essentially what this is going to do is lower the cost of gas fees by an order of magnitude on the Ethereum layer 2s. This is a very bullish catalyst for layer 2s because now they're going to be cheaper, which incentivizes more people to use them. And of course, that has a positive liquidity flow effect into the entire ecosystem, Arbitrum included. So EIP 4844 is a massive catalyst, but you also have the fact that they just launched their ecosystem fund. So a lot of protocols are now incentivizing with additional yield, airdrops, etc. And you also have the fact that Arbitrum is now breaking above one of the key resistance levels at the 92-cent region. The $1 region was a super important level for Arbitrum that it actually broke below, but if this gets reclaimed, then Arbitrum is in a really strong place from a technical perspective. We do need to see how the next couple days go in terms of how it closes, but Arbitrum is definitely one that I'm watching and is one on my accumulation list, being one of the newer coins in the market. Typically from cycle to cycle, the newer coins perform better than the older coins because there are less bag holders. So even something like Solana, it does have a lot of bag holders, right? Because a lot of people during the bull market bought higher at $100, $180, etc. Whereas something like Arbitrum, which launched in the middle of the bear market, it didn't have that crazy rally, so there are less underwater bag holders, so it should theoretically have less resistance as the price begins to rise next bull run. So in general, cycle to cycle, I do like the new coins. Arbitrum does fit this bill, but that could be extended to a bunch of coins like Say, even like Aptos, like Sui, and even coins that aren't released yet, which is why I always believe it's important to keep dry powder set aside for new opportunities. So Arbitrum's one that I'm looking at. Now let's get into the ecosystem that I believe is a really interesting play and hasn't moved much price-wise versus the change that we've seen in metrics over the last week. Before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to one of our official show partners, Magpie. Magpie is an application that enables you to boost your yield across the Wombat, Pendle, and Radiant ecosystems. You guys know that I'm a big fan of Layer 0, Radiant being one of my favorite plays within the ecosystem. You can actually kill two birds with one stone by qualifying for a Layer 0 airdrop through interacting with Radiant, but also utilizing an application like Magpie to earn additional yield on Radiant instead of staking through Radiant directly. So the way to think about it is essentially it's a yield aggregator, but it offers boosted yields as it pools capital together, stakes that capital inside the pools in its respective exchanges, gets higher rewards in light of the fact that it's investing more capital, and then distributes those rewards to stakers on the Magpie platform. So I'll give you an example. You can see here the MGP token you can lock in order to earn yield, but also earn the bribes in order for locking your MGP tokens. And on the Radiant side, they have the RDP token as your vertical to earn yield over there. So a few really interesting things. They also launched ESRDNT, which enables you to get a token back for staking your token, which is a liquid token that you can trade on secondary markets. And it also enables you to get Radiant tokens at a discount, as you can purchase Radiant at reduced prices using the ES Radiant function. Also, Magpie liquidity providers will have the chance to share 10% of the total RDP tokens at the upcoming IDO, which is set to happen very soon, which means existing depositors can not only earn Radiant rewards, but also have the opportunity to secure early access to RDP. So this is also an initiative on the Magpie side as well. So I'll leave a link in the description below to check out Magpie. You guys know that I'm a fan of the Radiant and the Layer 0 ecosystems, so this could be one vertical if you're interested in that as well, using the link in the description. Okay, let's get on with the last little tidbit for today's video, which is the ecosystem I'm looking at, and that is, of course, perpetual dexes. Over the past week, volume on perp dexes has been going crazy. You can see here there's been a massive spike across some of your major dexes like Polynomial, like Metavolt, and also GMX. And this is a result of volatility coming back to the market. So we do know one thing is for sure. When volatility and interest comes back to the market, perp dexes are a major beneficiary, as increased volume means increased fee generation. And that's why I believe, even though we've seen an uptick, perp dexes are looking reasonable in terms of their valuations, because they haven't really responded too much in terms of price. Now, over the last week, some are up 20, 30%, but in terms of their pricing versus highs, applications like GMX are still a ways off their high, even though you can earn money just for staking on the platform itself across, GMX and also GNS with their DAI staking vault. So even if you didn't want exposure to GMX, you could stake GLP to earn yield, which is their token basket, or you could stake DAI on GNS, Gains Network, in order to earn a share of their revenue without even having to hold the GNS token itself. So it's super interesting that you can actually open yourself up to these verticals on these platforms without even holding the token, but the token itself does represent upside in the case of volatility coming back for a sustained period of time. And we don't know how long this rally is going to last. We don't necessarily know if it will kick off into some crazy bull mania just yet, but when it does, you know that these will be some of the biggest beneficiaries. And that's why I like to hold some DEXs in my overall portfolio, because I do believe that they are a nice bet on upside in crypto. A similar logic to my thesis for Rollbit. People want to gamble, people want to speculate. These offer you the ability to speculate on the platform using leverage. Whether you use leverage or not, that's your decision, but I know people are going to either way, and as a result of that, these tokens are an interesting play. I'm also always on the lookout for new DEXs. I think DYDX is super interesting with what they're building. I'm always looking at new DEXs, not just Oracle-based DEXs, but order book DEXs, etc. So that's a narrative I'm really bullish on in next cycle. It's the DEX narrative, but we don't know who the exact winners are going to be, so it's best to just, in my opinion, diversify across some of your favorite platforms. Well, those are the 5 altcoins plus the bonus ecosystem that I'm currently looking at. Let me know in the comments below if there are any altcoins that I missed in today's video, but you are either accumulating or are interested in the current market environment. I'll make sure to check out your comments. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, click the like button and subscribe for future content on this channel. And of course, check out the links in the description to Magpie and De.Fi, and all the resources necessary are available there if you're interested in those products. I will see you in the next video next week. Hope you enjoyed and have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.